Hello and welcome back. Today we are taking a look at the Aliens Night Cougar alien toy from NECA. This is part of NECA's alien figure range and is inspired by those old Kenner action figures from the early 90s. For those not familiar, in the early 90s, Kenner toys, which I think eventually became Hasbro, had their own line of alien action figures, all of various species, like the Cougar alien, and I think they did like a gorilla and a snake and dozens of others, based on the Alien franchise. This is NECA's interpretation of the Cougar alien. You can see here it's got that artwork box packaging, which is inspired by the Kenner toys, with almost a inspired retro blister card packaging there. Night Cougar alien with magnetic kamikaze parasite. It's an action figure. Aliens new, although I think this is quite an old toy. I got this from Zavvi and part of one of their deals for like 35 quid with an extra 10% off and God knows what else. Below is our barcode and a list of the members of staff who worked on this product. On the side we get the xenomorph with aliens, Night Cougar alien, NECA, and then silver packaging. Same on the other side, aliens on top. On the back we get a brief bio, and then we get a cross-sell of all of the other figures in this line, from the humans to the various aliens, snake alien, mantis, panther alien, etc. This opens up to reveal a window box packaging of the alien within and a product shot of our alien there. So there we have it. Let's get this opened and take a look at the figure within. So the figure comes on a blister card, and the insert is done to resemble that alien xenomorph egg cracking, which is obviously inspired from the original 70s movie. Put this package to one side. Let's pop the god-awful plastic cable ties. And there's one on the neck, so try and get that. There we go. Oh, and one on the tail. There we go. Oh, God, there's another one as well. Oh, ending. There we go. Remove that, and then we get a parasite as well, which is done in primarily a translucent plastic. There's no real weight to this at all. It's some really nicely molded details throughout, very reminiscent of the face hugger underneath. There's almost like a green colouring inside of the translucent. I'm assuming that's the magnet inside there. But you can see there's plenty of really cool molded detail on that. We'll see how that fits on in a minute. Here is our Night Cougar alien. So out of packaging, I think this one's designed to go on 4x4s, which we'll try and see in a minute. I'm just seeing if we can get this posed in some way to... There we go, I'm standing up. So out the... sort of standing up, shall we say. So this comes in at probably about 9 inches, give or take. You can see that there is lots of various points of articulation on the figure, but let's look at the details first. So the head is done in a black with some silver spotting and some very fine red colouring throughout. Most of this is done in a dark silvery black colouring with red highlights. Some of the highlights aren't as good as others. They almost seem to have been slapped on rather than actually properly toned, which is a bit of a shame, especially given NECA are a high-end collectible or a collectible toy company over, say, someone like Hasbro or Mattel. The head is, or the skull on the head is actually translucent. And there does appear to be a skull underneath the figurine. There's plenty of molded detail throughout, which is really, really nice. Articulation wise, the head is on a ball joint and rotates, as is the neck. Sorry, I don't think, yeah, the neck is on a ball joint, but it's also on a swivel. So you can get some nice range of movements there. The jaw does open, and the iconic second mouth is extendable. Arms are on a standard peg and swivel. You can see some of the paint sort of splotched over there. That's my overall opinion on this figure so far, is that the paint seems to be quite hapdash rather than any real attention to detail, which is a shame, as in theory this looks like quite a cool figure. We get a elbow swivel, and so you get two elbow swivels, and you essentially get a double hinge at the elbow. The hands have articulated middle fingers and articulated wrists. The torso has a ball joint at the abs to allow for a nice full range of movement there. The legs are on ball joints, so we get a range of movement there. They only go out that far because of the way the legs are molded. Knees have essentially a double hinge, except the second one is really, really tight. Oh, there we go. So you can get that move there. There is no oh, there is a slight swivel. Yeah, there is a swivel at this knee here, but I think you have a risk of snapping it if you're not careful. There is also a swivel and bend at this joint here, with a further swivel and hinge at the ankle. So there's plenty of movement. The tail is also on a swivel, and it's a bending wire, so it is fully articulated, and you get a nice full movement there. You can get some nice painted details on the tail. You can get more of that red at the back of the figure here. So where it's done well, it's done really well, especially along the tips of the tail here as it fades into the rest of the tail, and the silver tip on the tail. But there are parts of it which are sadly feel quite slapdash, or in need of another coat. You see the red here, it's kind of just been splattered on, but it's only sort of one layer and it needs more. So it's quite disappointing there. The there we go. There is a magnet in the tail which will hold, or it did hold, the parasite. It sort of holds it. It doesn't hold it that way. You can feel it there. But it doesn't grip it that well. Yeah, it's unclear how this is supposed to sit on and connect, but magnet is there, you can feel it, but it's not particularly strong, and it's just not holding it, which is very disappointing. So the figure, I believe, is supposed to be on all fours. So let's see if we can get him into a crouched and hunting pose. Okay, so okay, let's bring in our original. You can see how it's been posed there. There's definitely, so these are bent. Get off. You can, with some playing about, you can get it posed. I don't think it poses overly well, which is quite disappointing. I have a few of these figures, and some are definitely better than others, but this one isn't posing quite as well as I had hoped. You can get the poses there, sort of, but the legs want to splay out because it's quite a thin plastic. There we are. Sort of. I'm sure with some playing about you could probably get better posing, but it doesn't pose as well as I'd hoped, and I cannot get that magnet to connect properly. So overall, it's a nice enough figure, but it doesn't feel like a NECA figure to me. It feels very slapdash, half-hearted attempt at doing a figure. Where they've done bits well, they've done it really well, especially the toning along the tail, and I really like the translucent head, although I do feel maybe they went a little overboard with that silver there. So overall, this is one of the weaker figures I've seen. It's not awful, it just fails to, yeah. There we go. So there we have the figure. It's okay. Yeah, it's definitely not my favourite. I am a little bit disappointed with it overall. But once it's up on display with the other figures, I don't think it's going to be too bad. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, stay safe. And remember, freedom is a right, not a privilege.